Jungle. When did you first realize that Antigonish had a problem with affordable housing?
Oh, before I came here, I realized, because I didn't realize, someone informed me that if you're going to Antigonish to look for housing because you're going as a student, you're going to have to compete with a lot of other students for a very scarce resource and a very pricey resource because it's scarce. You know, the standard economic equation: demand up, supply down, price up. So that was it. So I got here in the August of 1983 and just happened to luck in to a landlord who interviewed me and just decided that I was the right person for this. And I said, well, no, I've got 2 kids and 2 cats, so I don't know if you want me renting your little basement apartment in the bottom of your house. And he said, no. We talked about it, my wife and I, we decided that you're our tenant. And I worked so hard to be a good tenant there, even though I had 2 very boisterous kids. And it wasn't always a seamless process. But Peggy and Del Brody were very nice to me. So when I then had to move on, because the place really was too small and we really had to find something else, the landlord had another purpose for it anyway, so we had to move on. Then I went through a process of just getting into really bad housing that was a real learning experience. Not that it was new to me, because I'd always lived in fairly bad housing up to that point, but I just got into a kind of merry-go-round of, you know, renting one place after another and always finding that there was a fly in the ointment, a major fly in the ointment, like the power bill is as much as the rent or something, you know. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But yeah, and it's that way for poor people all the time. It's this merry-go-round of trying to find a place that doesn't have the problem the place you're living in now has, but you find another place and then you're sure it doesn't have that problem, but then you find out but it's got this problem. And the problem is that bad quality housing that is affordable for people who have very little money is bad quality housing, so there's always a problem, and it's not a little problem.
Sisters of St. Martha's, I was sitting on their social justice committee, and we thought we need to do something about poverty, so we went to speak to them at the Women's Center because they're working on that, and together we decided we need to do something, and we got some funding together to hire somebody to do an assessment in the communities, and they did many different focus groups to find out what are the main issues around poverty. And of course, housing, transportation, food security, education, services, early childhood development came out as the themes. And so the Antigonish Affordable Housing Society had tried a number of years prior to get something going, and it didn't happen. So that's when it got restarted again. And I came on board at that point. Well, the board was reformed and I came on. And then after a couple of years, I ended up taking over as chair of the board. So, which has been 6 years since I've been chair of the board. And yeah, that's how we got involved. And last year we started and built our first affordable housing units.
Yeah. What changed between when it was originally formed and when it was newly formed to make it successful now?
I'm not sure exactly what has changed. I think perhaps finally the government is coming on board, and it's getting easier to work with the government now. It was very difficult in the past, and they were directing money for affordable housing in different ways, but it's been many years since the government did anything around affordable housing. And then when you're depending on a lot of volunteers to do the work, it's a big challenge.
Right.
So I think we lucked out in this situation. The timing seemed to be right. although we're facing still many challenges, but the timing is right. We got a good, strong board. We worked hard to get the board set up, and we were able to get charitable status, which is making a difference. So that's been helpful. And then just after that, just as I said, working with the government, the feds said they want to put money in, and the province said they did, and we were just there at the right time.
Right.
And with elections on the horizon, it made it even better. So a number of things sort of lined up. The town and the county have both been very supportive. And the town was previously, they gave the land previously, but they weren't able to get the funding in place. So this time we were able to do that, get lots of support. And the Sisters of St. Martha's have been involved all along. They were able to put money out this time because the way we managed to get everything lined up.
Right, so things just kind of fell into place.
They,
along
with a lot of work, they fell into
yeah.
place, and our timing worked.
So, what changes for people when they're able to live comfortably in affordable housing?
Well, I think suddenly they have a home base, they feel safe, they're not scrambling, they have a roof over their heads. I think they have a profound sense of security and well-being if it's an adequate, safe, clean accommodation. It's one of the, I think we're all defined by, where we can find peace, respite, home.
What are some changes that we as a community need to be making in order to alleviate some of the issues, such as housing insecurity?
I think one of the first issues is to even become more aware of it. I think for the most part people are not aware, and they're not aware of how incredibly strong the need is. And also to sort of rethink valuing people based on their level of income. And there's usually lots and lots of reasons why people are dealing with situations where they have to work even harder because they don't have enough income, and there's lots of reasons with lots of people, and everybody deserves safe, clean, environmentally friendly sense of community. And I think that's where a lot of real social change needs to start.
When you talk about the future of housing in Antigonish, affordable housing, I think we have done, we certainly had a marvelous interview group, tenant selection, who are willing to come back and help us. And these 10 units will be according to need and in what we're able to provide. But I see us hopefully networking with other people in Antigonish so we can look at the housing first and how this can all come together in terms of housing for the homeless, housing for those who are suffering with mental illness, and may not even be mental illness, but people who just have a real hard time living in the reality of their lives. So how can we all network and look at a much broader program for affordable housing for people who are living in poverty or really are marginalized? That's a future hope for me.